28 millimeter scale, and it shows like a dragon. I'm like, what? That doesn't tell me how big this model is at all. And so sometimes they give you the base size, you kind of have to guess. But anyway, ask a question, any question. Usually I'm like, what is the actual height from the bottom of the base to the crown of the head on this model? But the real question is, how fast are you going to turn around questions? Because responsiveness is a big deal. And so if they respond right away and they're communicating, then you'll know that's who you're dealing with. Because a lot of these guys are like, oh, I don't know, my turnaround time, whenever I get to it. It's like, that's awesome. I totally get that. But, you know, another guy might be like, oh yeah, I can have this out the door in 3 days or whatever. And that's still not as good as just going down to your local game shop and just picking up things. So, yeah, it'll be, so like I predicted with the miniatures painting industry, those many years ago, I think 12 years ago, I predicted that certain actors would emerge that would be these mid-sized companies. They wouldn't get much bigger than that, but they'd be these mid-sized companies, and, you know, and then still a zillion soloists because of the fragmenting nature of the internet. It allows people to just sort of hop in and just start doing their deals really quickly. Used to be that, of course, about like back in the 70s and 80s, you like recently I bought some Dragon magazines and I'm looking at the ads in them and they're like, for a catalog, send a self-addressed stamped envelope, SASE, to this address. Like you would literally mail a thing and there would be an envelope inside of it, and then they would send you, I guess, a home printed catalog, you know, back to you, and some weeks later you'd be like, oh, look at this products that I can buy and also get in the mail. So things are better with the internet, is my point. And so with guys home printing things in their apartment, that's what you'll have. You'll have some more reliable companies come out, and oh boy, that's a tough call though. Like, how will these mid-sized companies that are more reliable and better known, how will they emerge? And so people are still surprised that Blue Table's around. Like sometimes on videos I'll be like, hey, you guys are still making videos? Are you guys still doing things? I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, obviously the algorithm must be showing them one of my vids after 5 years, you know, and they're like, oh, he finally put up a vid after 5 years. I'm like, no, go guys, go back and look at the history. There's 5,000 videos. Like, never a week goes by I don't make a couple, at least, you know. So, anywho, finally, how would that affect companies like yours and the industry as a whole? Oh, okay. So when they start color printing, that's when I'll be like, oh, well, we had a good run. And I'll be relying on the same thing as Games Workshop. I'll be relying on that prestige and the culture of miniatures battles. So like there was a company called Rackham, and they came up with a science fiction game called AT-43. I still have a lot of their models. And these models, I was like, oh, they're so good. And like in terms of the expense and the labor of painting your own figures, just like amazing. And I'm like, oh boy, this is the end. If these Chinese pre-paints are just gonna kill the industry, I'm like, well, may as well blaze ahead. And that was in like 2011, I think. And guess what? That game didn't get any traction at all because pre-paints are not great. There's no prestige. You didn't put any craftsmanship into that. So in a way, I'm hoping Games Workshop is very successful with creating this very dominant industry-wide culture of, well, a hobby. To do it proper, like, you've got to buy your models, you clip them off the armature, you glue them together, you take off the mold lines, preferably with a little file, and then you prime them, and it's a thing. And you definitely see that with boutique painters. There's like a zillion like high-end painting things. Angel Heraldez, I think is one. And congratulations to that guy. That is a success story. And doing boutique painting. I don't think that'll ever go away. There'll always be the art part of it. So I feel like I'm going to do okay. I think people will just be they're not. Some people will, segments of the consumers for miniatures battles will just be like, yeah, just do you want color, or do you want to pay $100 for this kit and have it like not painted, or do you want to spend $200 and have it all pre-painted to these settings? But I think Hero Forge is actually doing a thing now. I think you can get basic colors put on them or something. I don't know. Maybe that's just the program they use. So anyway, how could it affect companies like yours and the industry as a whole? Well, how could it affect companies like mine is, if the color printing is good enough and it's widespread, that'll be the end. That'll be the end of miniatures painting. To the degree it is now, there will always be boutique painting or specialist painting, and a certain percentage of people that just want some custom thing. And that's where, again, man, I kind of wishing Games Workshop some luck and hoping that their model, their prestige model, carries right on through. And the industry as a whole, well, I think I talked about that at length. I think that 3D printing is like you're standing on the tracks and you just heard a train horn coming, and that train is not gonna stop. Finally, I'd like to, because I'm cracking up to 40 minutes. Yeah! And remember, you can go to my luxury items section and just put in your coins and out will pop a video on a topic of your choice. A wide range of topics, I really don't mind. I mean, but you gotta stay relatively within my life expertise, which of course could cover lots of different subjects. So I want to talk about my Katachan Jungle Fighters army. Yes, you're going to see a video of it because I'm almost done. I just got in 18 heavy weapon teams, and that's the last thing I got to paint for. It's a brigade. It's a full brigade. 5 HQs, 12 troops choices, 8 elites, 5, what are they? Heavy sport, 5 fast attack. And no flyers, though. And it's 2,000 points. You fit all of that into 2,000 points because everything's so cheap. Okay. So I had the infantry cost typically between $1.50, depending on who I go to. There's a guy that will do them quickly, and the quality is good, but he doesn't include any bases. But the models cost $2 or slightly less each to do them. Now remember, from earlier in the story, the metal figures were $3 or $4 a piece back in the day in blisters. They came in pairs. And so remember that. And then now remember, Games Workshop plastic dwarfs, the regular old kind, $55 for 10, $5.50 each. When you're talking about making an army, maybe 100 infantry, let's say, that's a big difference. Do you want to pay $200 for your infantry, or do you want to pay $550 for your infantry? And the other thing is, when they came, they were well, from this particular company, he just sends them in a baggie. They come in like a packet. No frills. There's no label. Doesn't eat in the baggies. They're just sandwich bags, like that you buy at home. And that's fine. I didn't need any of that. I didn't need fancy packaging that just gets thrown in the garbage. That probably cost more than the plastic sprues. So that was pretty cool. A downside of it is that you didn't get any instructions on how to put them together. You had to put them together. And the supports weren't, they were clean, they were like 98.5% cleaned off, but there was still some cleaning to do. But the price, awesome, I say yes. And of course, if I were printing them myself, just the resin, but you have to consider the labor. That's, for me, that's my big lesson, is like that labor of cleaning those support sprues off. Oh, that's huge. You gotta ask that, are these cleaned? And that's where these home guys, I think they're getting hammered with the labor on cleaning those support struts off. I don't know, is there a machine that'll tumble them or do it? I don't know, man, but That's something. And a lot of times I'll end up with extras. Like, and by the way, if you're going that route, you gotta just put in there, miscasts are appreciated. Like, if there's any extras. And a lot of times they'll just throw in all those things and I can make something out of those. So that's nice. Hold on. So that guy was awesome for those reasons. I just kept going back to him. Then I had another guy for the Catachans, and he had that special resin, and it was really great. But obviously he was in high demand, probably because of the quality, and he was charging, I think, $3, maybe a little bit more per infantry figure. But the resin was better. They came with bases. Unfortunately, the bases weren't Games Workshop standard. They were slightly thicker. So that ultimately wasn't great because of the other guy. I ended up having to buy Games Workshop bases. And by the way, just go to eBay. There's companies now that are just making Games Workshop standard bases, and they're super cheap. Don't buy bases off the Games Workshop site. Like, you can get effectively the exact same thing. It's like, oops, is that recasting, or is that, is that all right? So anyway, well, it's not recasting because they don't get Games Workshop bases and literally recast them. They have their own thing from scratch. Can Games Workshop own a 25 millimeter round? Own the shape, like Tiffany's owns Tiffany's blue, beveled at this certain angle? I don't know. It's blowing my mind if the answer is yes. So anyway, with my Catachans, so to assemble those basic infantry, it was legs, torso, 2 arms, and a head. And some of them had the thing where the arm is cut off at the wrist and you have to like match it to the hand on the gun, and those things are a pain to glue because you got to glue 2 things at the exact same time and make them stick. And by the way, I have a good method for doing that. Maybe I'll make a video about that. But then they had this different type for the lasgun guys where it was base, legs, torso with everything printed just like that. And they had different poses too, right? And then just stick the head on. And those things are a dream to put together. Like, I'm literally just cranking those things together, texturing them. And of course, with 3D printing, with the technology, you could, I think, theoretically, just print the entire thing together, which would be, that'd be amazing. Like, the labor cost. And that's where I think painting companies will power through, because ultimately, with this industry, somebody's got to paint those figures, and it takes skill and it takes time. A certain percentage of people, lawyers and doctors, they're not going to want to do that painting. And so, yeah, you can tell I'm kind of running out of steam. Whoa, I'm going on 50 minutes for this video. This is nuts. Oh my God. All right. I almost jinxed myself there. Okay. So, yeah, my Catachans, I bought some unique, which you've seen on the videos. I got my Manticores, I must have seen 50 different designs. And that's the great thing. You're going to be spoiled for choice. Like, so many different configurations and cool things. So I think agnostic game systems are going to get some traction. And you're going to see people just playing for fun and just getting things. Of course, that dips into my theory about role-playing games, which are great because it's a game, it's a system, and you can use any old miniatures you like, which I love. I've always loved alternate miniatures. That's why I got in this industry to begin with. I was making armies that were made out of alternate things or had different concepts to them, and I just can't get enough of that. Of course, with my Catachan Jungle Fighters, they're as plain can be. And I picked them because nobody was doing them. Who owns a Catachan Jungle Fighters army? I don't think I've ever seen one. I don't think I've ever seen a whole one done all to theme. So anyways, back to my thing. I got alternate sculpts for my Primaris Psyker. I got, Weird Vein Psykers were alternate sculpts. Yeah, you're going to see the whole thing together. It's really cool. I have very little to complete for it. I'm super excited. All right, so everybody say thank you, Gerald. And I'll see if I keep the comments on or not. Yeah, I probably will. Just, folks, be nice. Be nice, because I've brought up some hot button topics. I didn't want to, but I had to for the story. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon. That's terrible. That's a terrible tagline.